Basically, everyone is afraid of something, but not everyone is afraid of the same thing. So everyone starts out, I think, with nothing to lose. Then they start developing things to lose, and the ego starts to build. And then you start playing not to lose from a scarce place. And then when you face mortality, you get freed again. So after my car accident, I went from playing not to lose relationships, because I lost my father when I was 2. My stepfather left at 14. I still have not seen or spoken to a single one of his family members from that entire side. So I had these abandonment challenges, and my mom's side sort of ostracized us from that side of the family. That's a whole story. And we weren't really associating with the McCorkles, my birth father's side, much when we were trying to be the Lazaroses, which is my stepdad's last name. So I kind of lost 3 families in a way by the time I'm 14. Mm-hmm. So I was playing not to lose. I brought my high school friends to college. I brought my college friends to corporate. They had a referral program at the company I was working for named Cognex. I brought 4 or 5 college friends to the company. I got these huge bonuses instead of headhunters. But I realized in hindsight, I was trying to bring everyone with me because I was fearful to be, I didn't want to lose any more people. Yeah. So some people are playing not to lose status. So they're constantly afraid of failure. That's not me. I don't mind looking like a failure because people actually like me more when I fail. I'm constantly trying not to lose relationships. I used to be. And then when I was 26, I faced mortality and realized that I wasn't reaching my potential. And after that, I started to face my fear of abandonment, and I started to face my fear of losing people. And since 26, I have very few people still in my life. The reason we're afraid to lose is because we actually are going to lose. That's one of the things, is it's actually valid.
It is a scary place to be when you act on fear. You act based on the fear of something versus you act based on the courage of risking, the losing.
That's why it takes so much courage, because every time you take a step forward, you are risking losing something or someone. And that's the truth. That's the law of trade-offs.
This is a very profound concept. And I mean, the idea of people pleasing actually might come out of this fear of losing something, right?
I did it for a lot of my life.
Yeah, but I think we all, at some point in our lives, we just become people pleasers because we are afraid of losing people, and then we just lose ourselves in the process.
Did that in a big way.
Yeah. So can you talk about that? Would you mind sharing your experience in that area?
Not at all. I'm so grateful. And I want you to know too, in this interview, I'm happy to share. I'm trying to do something different because I've studied this self-improvement space for 10 years now. And for some reason, most people act like they've already arrived. Yeah, right? See, isn't it comical? It's like, especially the big players, they act like they've already arrived. It's like, here's where I used to be, and here's where I am now, and here's what made the difference. It's like, listen, let's talk about where you're struggling now. I haven't arrived yet. I'm still on the growth journey.
Where is that where we need to arrive, though? Where is that, like,
that's my point. Arrive is not real. You're always growing. So, but a lot of people act on podcasts as if they've already arrived, so they're not willing to talk about, like, you even right there, you're like, do you mind telling us about where you? Of course not. I'm happy to share all the stuff I struggled with. And even though most people, I don't struggle personally, otherwise you won't coach with me, right? So I people pleased a ton. And I have a story that I think illuminates this. I was in college. I went to WPI. It's a little mini MIT in Massachusetts. $50,000 a year, engineering school. Just spoke there actually a few weeks ago. And it's a smaller school, so I want to say there was 4,500 kids when I was there. I think it's bigger now. But I had a friend of mine, I'll keep anonymous, who came to me one time. I was a junior going into my senior year. And he said, you are hands down the most popular kid on this campus. And at the time, I actually was pumped. I thought that was a compliment. Mm-hmm. because from the frame I was living from back then, that was awesome. There's 12 fraternities. I knew people at every one of them. I could hang out with the smart kids. I could hang out with the nerds. I could hang out with the jocks and play basketball. I lifted weights. I was part of everything. And that's an exaggeration, but I was spread too thin and I lost myself. I was at every party, every on-campus barbecue. My girlfriend now and I joke because she did the same thing. She went to Providence College and she did the same thing. She had her hands in everything and she's just a giver. And you just lose yourself so much because you become this chameleon that just fits into all these different groups. Now, the good thing that came out of that is I have really strong social skills and I've learned how to influence, and I've learned a lot about people and different types of people. Obviously, anyone who's watching or listening, I've been studying human beings my entire life, not only on the sort of cognitive behavioral end, psychology and all that stuff, and the history of evolutionary psychology, but also in real life from a practical perspective. So now I feel very competent in my ability to help all walks of life, because in college there were people from all different countries, all different cultures, all over the world, and I was friends with all of them. But I lost myself in the process.
Yeah.
And I spread myself too thin, and I didn't know who the hell I was. I drank too much and too often. And the good metaphor for this, if you've ever heard this, you can be a wandering generality or you can be a meaningful specific. The one that takes less courage is being a wandering generality. The wandering generality doesn't challenge anyone or anything. The wandering generality fits into whatever peg you want to put them in to try to protect themselves from social ostracization or character assassination or whatever. We've all had, that instance where we felt unjustly treated for what seems like no reason, or people, poison people against you for what seems like no reason, all this kind of stuff. And it takes tremendous courage to say, here is who I am. Here is who I'm not. And I'm going to be a meaningful specific. So here I am. I'm Alan Lazaros. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Next Level University. I'm a business coach. I coach, train, and podcast. And I help people reach their potential. And let's be real, I don't do much else. That's my life. That's who I am. And that's who I've decided to be. It's not only who I am in my essence, but it's also who I've decided to be. And I'm not going to be at your barbecue. And in the past, I had a lot of people who were very upset by that. I've exercised every day for over 1,000 days with my beautiful girlfriend, Emilia. I changed the whiteboard downstairs to 1,091 days earlier today. We're coming up on 3 years. I don't say that to brag. I say that because I'm very clear on my goals and core values, and I'm not straying from them for anybody. And that takes a tremendous amount of social courage, especially for someone who felt the fear of abandonment.
To sum all these beautiful insights up, who is Alan without the external markers of success in one sentence or two?
Someone who deeply desires being a positive influence on others, because I think deep down I've become the male role model that I never had. And Dad died when I was 2, stepfather left when I was 14. He and I never got along. And I do deeply believe that we need to set a higher standard, particularly men, for being respectful and being virtuous. Because if you start studying the statistics of the sexual traumas and all this different stuff, it's alarming how much injustice is happening, particularly to women. And I just think I need to set a new standard, because when I was a little kid, I was naive as shit. And I looked up to men like you wouldn't believe. And very few of them None of them deserved that pedestal, and none of them held it. And so my girlfriend Amelia basically said, like, you're not supposed to have a male hero because you're supposed to become the hero you never had.
I love that.
And she's just amazing. And I think that that's who I am, is just someone who really genuinely and sincerely wants to reach his potential and wants to lead by example, because there are so many freaking people out there talking and not leading by example. I mean,
Mhm.
I had mentors that are millionaires, 1 billionaire, and I'm telling you right now, what they're saying and what they're doing is very different. And I will not do that. I just cannot do that, because I think that that's all people really want. I think what kids really need is someone who leads by example. Yeah, it's great to teach and educate, of course, right? But there's books that are written about biology, and the author is wildly out of shape and not at all caring about their health and fitness. And it's insane. It's like, if you wrote this book about the physical body, why do you not practice anything you preach in the book?
Yes.
And to me, I just cannot tolerate that. So the only way I could not get depressed and sad about that is to actually just make sure that because that's all I'm responsible for. I have to take responsibility for my own change that I want to see in the world. So whatever it is out there that you feel is unjust in the world, you have to, the only way to overcome that pain and sadness, at least that I've found, is to become the change agent, become the person who, I'm a man who's in therapy. So if I think men are avoiding therapy because men don't feel, I need to lead by example. And I have a therapist named Carol. And that's just one more example of, I have to lead by example. And so, yeah, that's who I am, is someone who I think wants to lead by example more than anything else. Who you are and what you are when no one's watching is what matters. And I don't just say that on a podcast. Seriously. Like, if anything, I was worse on this show than I try to be in real life. I got to be real about that. And I think that that's very rare. Unfortunately, that's very rare. Yeah.
That's true. That's true too. Believe in the product that you're selling and just using the same product. I wanted to ask you this next, actually, whether there was somebody or there is somebody in your life that has the huge impact on who you are becoming. Well, you mentioned your girlfriend, obviously.
That's the answer. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And I'd love to have her on the show too. I know that you guys have a podcast as a couple, right?
Yeah. She is.
Tell me about that. What is the podcast about?
So it's called the Conscious Couples Podcast.
Yes.
And it literally, the purpose of Next Level University podcast is to help you reach your potential. Next level you, pun intended. We're not trying to have you be like us. We want you to be like the best version of you. And then the Conscious Couples Podcast is, the sole purpose of it is to help you flourish in your intimate relationship. So we have some conscious singles in our community too that are trying to attract their dream partner and that kind of thing too. But really all it's about vulnerability and courage and humility and having tough conversations and how to have those challenging conversations, how to set and honor boundaries. And we're leading by example too. But yeah, so that's the Conscious Couples Podcast. And Emilia, you can reach out to her for sure. I'll let her know that you're gonna, and I'm sure she would adore this, because I'm going to tell her how awesome it was. And then I have no doubt she'll come on with you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Very kind.
Yeah, of course. She is, well, thank you for the work you're doing. Right? Thank you for this interview.
One more question.
Yep.
Define a life well lived. How do you define a life well lived?
The consistent pursuit of becoming all you can with all you have, in alignment with your greatest level of contribution. That. The consistent pursuit of becoming all you can with all you have, in alignment with your greatest level of contribution. And yes, that also means you need to improve your quality of life as well. So don't forget about you in the equation. Yeah.
And if we ask Alan, what would be the 3 most significant qualities that a human being and every individual should master in their life, what would they be?
Building self-belief would be number one. It's a formula. You have to state, prove, and self-assign. So if you're on autopilot, you're not building real self-belief. You have to say, I'm going to do X, and then self-assign when you do X. So number one is building self-belief for sure. Number two is humility. And what do I mean by humility? Because everyone's like, well, you sound arrogant. No, hold on. Inward humility. My actions are more humble than my words. And what I mean by that is I may have come on this podcast and shared some things that make it sound like I know a lot. And I do statistically know a lot because I've studied a lot. But compared to what there is to know, I know nothing. Compared to what other people know, it turns out I actually know quite a bit. The humility to know that you suck. And I don't mean this mean. You are not that great. And you can get better. And the first step to getting better is admitting you're not that great. And so that's what I mean by humility is
Understand.
Anyone who thinks they can have big rewards with minimal effort, that's not humble. Why you? Why do you deserve a mansion on the beach with minimal effort? Right? So humility in action is what I would say. So number one is build self-belief. Number two is humility. Number three, it would be align with what fulfills you. I think fulfillment is the soul's recognition of alignment with its highest self. I think that regret is the opposite. So after this interview, I'll be fulfilled. That's my soul saying, highest self Alan saying, human Alan, do that again. And we all know when we get off an interview sometimes, it's like, ugh, I kind of regret going on that show with that ding dong. That's regret. That's the highest self saying, Alan, don't do that shit again. So our highest self is talking to us saying yes or no. There's a reason we have regret. No one's perfect, right? I regret that relationship. Okay, why? I didn't know what I know now. Okay, got it. So I would say fulfillment, align with what fulfills you. So number one is build self-belief. Number two is radical humility, inward humility. And number three is align with what fulfills you.
Love that. Thank you so much. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing your wisdom with us.
You are so very welcome. Thank you for the work you're doing in the world, and thank you for having me.